Hi, I'm Peggy.
And hi, I'm Laura.
Welcome to UrbanBooz. We are exploring ways to discover how to pair today's beers, wines, and spirits with ethnic foods, sip by sip. And today we have with us Celeste Beatty, who is the founder and brewer of Harlem Brewery, and we are excited to be with her and to learn more ways about beer and ways that we can incorporate it in our food today. Thanks, Celeste, for coming.
Thank you.
And what we wanted to do is find out what exactly is craft beer. I'm a novice, so I'm like craft beer 101.
I think craft anything is really what you put into it. It's your passion, the flavors, layers of flavors and stuff that you love, and your interpretation of, what the food is, how you want the food to taste. I mean, everyone has their own style. We grew up in different cultures, so, right now, today, we're sitting here at Cali's Tex-Mex, which is a lot of wonderful flavors from their culture, from the Latin culture, a lot of great spices, cilantro, peppers. So I grew up in Southern tradition with Southern food, and for me, it's about infusing a layer of flavors from our beers into the food that I grew up on.
Okay, well, that brings me to my question. What are your favorite ingredients? What are your favorite spices to use? I'm not looking for your recipe, but what are your favorites to use?
Well, I would say, I grew up eating all types of food. My mom sort of had a living room with people from all over the community and different countries coming in and sharing their ideas, their passions, and their food. So I would say that these days, particularly as it relates to beer, I love coriander. Okay. I love cumin. I love grains of paradise. I love juices, fruit, peach, orange, pretty much everything. I just love the layers of flavors. But I would say that in terms of my favorite beer styles, I tend to lean more towards beers that have spices. The Belgian style beers, the framboise, just different beers that have a lot of different spices in it, as well as wines. I like, there's a wine that I like now that has a Pinot Grigio and Moscato, I think, blend, and really nice flavors of that particular wine. That I love layers of flavors, and I love to see how that kind of gets elevated in beverages, and how that infusing it into food just brings it, another whole flavor companion to it. I like that.
I never thought talking about beer would make me hungry. So tell us, what brands do you offer at Harlem Brew?
The beers that we offer currently, so there's a few things that happens with Harlem Brewing Company. I have my sort of home brews that I continue to make with pretty much everything. I use the Pico brewing system, which allows us to do sort of the Keurig of brewing, and allows us to do small experimental batches, which I get to share with friends and people that come to my Brewdios, I call it, on 141st Street. They get to taste those 5-gallon and 3-gallon batches of beer that we experiment with different things. I'm experimenting with some stuff that I can't mention. Our country is progressing in some ways, so I can't really mention it. There's a lot of experimentation in ways that I really enjoy. But pretty much when you think about Harlem, we have every culture. You have East Harlem with the Latin culture. You can walk into a market and find all types of spices that are unique to that culture. Then we have 116th Street, several different African markets. I'm discovering spices I never knew about. I don't even know the names of the spices, but I'm learning about them and looking at ways to infuse that. Then we have, a lot of Southern Caribbean culture here, and there's a whole, jerk and, spices that we use traditionally in soul food. All of those different cultures have so much to offer. So when you talk about craft beer, to answer your question, craft beer is really looking at the stuff that you either love, that you want to sort of test out and experiment with and see how that adds flavor to your beer, or it's just sort of looking at new ways of how flavors and spices can combine to develop a whole nother palette of ideas and flavors that you never really experienced before. So it's really, if you think about a canvas, a painting, it's blank. Mm-hmm. You think about a beer, a base pale ale, or different styles of beer. How do you take that canvas and begin to paint and experiment with things to create a work of art? Craft beer really is about creating art.
Wow. That's a whole new world. So for those of us who are not in Harlem, where can we find you?
In terms of our beers?
Yes.
Well, we're sitting here at Callie's. It's an amazing place. There's a lot of great stuff on the menu here. We sell our beers here. I mean, they pair well with one of my favorite dishes, is the nachos. Chicken, beef, fish, whatever they are. Just when you look at a wheat beer, that pairs very well with the salmon. They have a really nice grilled salmon here that pairs well with the Renaissance wit. They also have a lot of great dishes that have really nice spicy beef, which could pair well with our 125th Street IPA. They have burgers and other types of sandwiches that pair well with our Harlem Sugar Hill Golden Ale. So really across the palette in terms of flavors, whether it's our IPA, the wit beer, or the Golden Ale, you can find pretty much anything on the menu that would pair well with any of those dishes. And if you move out to other bars and restaurants around the city, whatever their flavors are, whether it's Asian, whether it's Caribbean, whether it's, whatever it is, African dishes, there are spices within the beer and there are flavors within all of those beers that are great companions for the things on the menu.
Oh, so I read that we could find you at Walmart. Is that still true?
Some of them, you may be able to find some out there. We're still working on that.
Okay.
Capacity is a big issue. So I would suggest I'm really big on local.
Okay.
So before there was a Walmart, before I even knew what Walmart was, we were at the Sea Towns. We have the Pioneer across the street on 129th Street.
Oh, okay.
We will be at the Whole Foods again. We changed distributor, so we're getting back in there. But a lot of the neighborhood stores that were there before, many of those other places didn't want to buy our product. So I like to focus on the people that were there from the beginning, the Seed Towns, the Pioneers, the Wild Olive Markets, the Best Yets. Those are the places that really gave us an opportunity to build our brand. I'm very thankful that Walmart reached out, and they're a great company, but we want to continue to grow that. But I think focusing on the local people, the local companies that gave us an opportunity. I mean, they're right across the street. We're in there, very happy to be in their portfolio of products.
Oh, that's great. Your website said that your brewery was in upstate New York.
Yes.
How were you received when you went up to set up in upstate?
Well, it took us a while to finally find a brewing partner upstate. Starting off as a home brewer, you're not allowed to sell that beer into the market. You can only make small batches and give it to your friends. So as people began to give me feedback, I wanted to try to open a brewery in Harlem. That's continued to have its challenges. There's a lot of amazing spiritual organizations here in Harlem, and there are policies and regulations related to where you can and cannot brew. So we're still working on that. We're trying to get something open here. Great partnership with the owner, Fairfall, here at Callie's, hoping to start doing some small batch brewing here. But in the meantime, when you create a product, whether you love making soul food or Spanish food or Asian food, and someone says, start a restaurant, and they say start a brewery, you're like, okay, I can't do that in my backyard, or I can't do that in my bathtub or my apartment. So you take your recipe and you begin to shop it around and say, look guys, this is something I really want to do. I want to do it on a bigger scale. We have some interest. Restaurants are interested. Chefs are interested. You let bartenders, chefs, restaurant owners taste your recipe and give you feedback, and then we want it, but then you got to find a place to actually make it. So I went around the state and talked to a number of breweries. There was one brewery that actually came back to me and said, where is this Harlem? They didn't even know where Harlem was.
Oh my God.
So I brought them to Harlem, and I actually brought them to Sylvia's restaurant because that was the one restaurant that was serving our beer. There were a couple others, but that was the restaurant I took them to, and got a chance to see what it was I was doing, taste the beers that I made, and they gave us our first contract 18 years ago.
Wow.
So as business is, things come and go. So that particular brewery dissolved, and we're now brewing our beers, the test batches that we make here in Harlem. The beer was born here in Harlem. We raised it here in Harlem. What I mean by that is this is where I created the initial recipes. This is where I continued to make small batch beers. But this is where it all started. But you have to to grow, you have to find a place. So now we're in Lake George, which is about 20 miles down the road from where we brewed for almost 17 years. So we're very excited about that. We also are brewing in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, doing a collaboration with an African American woman brewer that I got to know there, where we're brewing in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. We're brewing some of our beers there. She's brewing her beers, part of the Rocky Mount Brewery collaboration. And we're looking at other places to brew and really bring the craft beer experience to many communities that haven't had an opportunity to be a part of it, to be a part of the brewing process, to be a part of the conversation. So that's how my experience in craft beer has evolved. Started out, I was just making stuff, like you guys said, you like cooking, make a few small batches. And then as you learn and you grow and you get feedback, everything evolves from there.
Wow. That's a journey.
That is a journey, yeah. And Saratoga is far. that's on my mind.
Rocky Mountain's far.
Oh, yeah.
That's a mountain. That's Adirondacks far. But,
yeah.
And when you talk about North Carolina, that's almost, Rocky Mountain. It's an 8-hour drive from the city.
Exactly.
And that's,
Or you can jump on the A train to the Amtrak A train and sit there. Before you know it, by the time you send a few texts, Instagrams, and phone calls, you're in Rocky Mount. Right. 7 hours goes by really quickly.
But it's also about 5 up to, because you're north of Albany.
There that's about 4 hours. Yeah. Three and a half hours.
4 hours.
Yeah. So, but you get in your car and it's such a beautiful drive.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a very relaxing
Very
drive.
therapeutic.
I'll do the train.
Yeah.
I don't like the drive.
Yeah.
But now, do you know when will the next time you'll have tastings? Because certainly Laura and I want to be there.
Right.
Tastings. We have beer and bacon coming up.
Okay.
At City Fill. I think it's City Fill. I'm not sure where it is this year.
That's near me.
But if you love bacon, come to beer and bacon.
Oh my goodness! I
it's
You
huge.
said bacon,
I mean, they got
B-A-C-O-N?
bacon lollipops. They got bacon ice cream. They
I
got
thought you meant beer and baking, and it's like
no, beer and bacon.
Oh no, we're there.
I'm there. Yeah, you don't have to tell me twice.
Beer and bacon. That's coming up. But we do tastings all the time. I mean, there's stuff happening here. You can come here any night. Friday nights are amazing here. Saturday nights, Sundays. There's a lot of great stuff happening.
Oh, okay.
So you can make your own tasting. So, but in terms of events, we just did something with LinkedIn. We did a tasting there the other night, where for Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
Oh,
Did a tasting there. So just stay in touch with us, or if you want us to do a tasting with you, backyard barbecue. I don't care what it is. But nothing's too small and nothing's too big for us to do a tasting.
Because again, that is our point. What are we going to pair our meal with? I mean, we're doing short ribs.
Yeah.
My short ribs are sitting in a marinade with all kinds of whatever was in my cabinet this morning.
Oh, okay.
It'll be tasty, I'm sure. But you want to have a nice beer to go with it. It's something strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the expert. See, I think I have some short ribs from last night from the Spanish store, so
Right.
And I'm actually making enchiladas tonight, so.
Right. So then
A pale ale might work with it, huh?
Yeah, pale ale will work well with that. But what are you putting in it? Is it chicken? Is it beef? Is it vegetarian?
I'm actually doing a batch of chicken and beef, because I got to cook for 2-3 days.
So see that I would marinate in the beer.
Oh.
Because by marinating it in the beer, especially with the chicken, but anything, it's going to give it such tenderness. So my son cooked for me on Mother's Day, and he marinated the chicken in the beer, like maybe for a few hours, maybe overnight. Boy, when he brought that chicken from Brooklyn, and I opened it up and I started, it's just so tender. So you have the tenderness from the marinade of the beer having, saturated meat gotten in there. Then you have the flavors from it. So you marinate it in the golden ale. So you have that nice tender chicken. Then he loves spices, so he's excellent with spices. It was so delicious. So aside from pairing it with the beer, try infusing it.
Okay.
Beer has so many options. No offense to my winemaker friends. I love them to death. But beer has so many options to it. You have so many amazing beers now. We have 3 and another 40 or so that I homebrew. But there's so much opportunity to take craft beer and infuse it and pair it. So most of the time I do both. I'm infusing and I'm pairing.
Oh,
so
nice.
you should try that.
Oh, we definitely will.
We'll try that. Yeah.
Was there anything else, Laura, you had questions about?
No, because you answered. What are you
I
serving
know,
up?
I know. This was so incredibly enlightening. So thank you,
Yes,
Celeste.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
We really enjoyed this time,
Yeah.
and I think maybe you've convinced the beer drinker in me just to kind of step outside of my comfort zone
I think
and
so.
to cook and to pair some beers.
Yeah, cooking with beer is it's amazing.
The only thing I think I've ever cooked with beer, crab,
Yeah.
family's from Maryland, so you put the crab legs in the beer, you put the lobster in the beer. When they go down, they spread, I guess that's controversial, but when you put them in, their last hit is beer, and they're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow,
Well,
I gotta invite me over for that.
yeah, definitely. I'm gonna try paella with your pale ale because there's some. I would love to try that out. Now you give me ideas.
Cool.
Well, until next time, this is
Cheers.
UrbanBooz, seeking out what's good, sip by sip.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.